Here's 5 mixing tips for you guys that you can take away and use in the future. Number 1, frequency and volume control. Let me push this a little bit better. Frequency and volume control are huge because if you get one wrong, you're gonna get both wrong. Frequency control comes from the organization of individual sounds so that way they aren't too wide or too big. For example, saw waves are quite wide in terms of their sound. And if you sing on top of a saw wave, you're gonna have a hard time fitting yourself on top of a saw wave, especially when it's playing chords throughout the entire scale. It's gonna get intense. Next is gonna be space and textures as well as transitions. This is kind of 3 things all in one, but it all makes sense once you do this. So, control your space by creating an atmosphere around your song. Imagine you have a song that is set in the setting of a field, and you need grasshoppers, and you need birds, and you need some truffling sounds, maybe some rain or thunder, whatever. That's kind of the atmosphere you want. So put all of those sounds together in your song, and it will immediately have a soundscape to it. Don't put them in the lead space. Don't make them fucking loud as shit because that'll ruin your song. Decrease the volume of each of those, push them far back, add some reverb to it so it's farther away. Don't put necessarily, you could use echo if you want, if it's like KV atmosphere, but like don't use echo, you know what I mean, too much. You can do that though, but just be careful with it. That's your space and your textures especially. Textures are huge, but they're slightly different. You want to use that same soundscape that you used a second ago to also put that atmosphere into instruments. So that way it's as if you're playing the instruments in that space. Let's say, for example, you have some congos in your song. I like to use congos in my trap music. When I make trap music, I put congos in there. I'm putting those congos through some EQ and some reverb that is at the same level of EQ and reverb as the other spacey textures like the grasshoppers and whatnot. They're all through EQs and compressors or whatever else it needs. And I have the same effects usually on my congos. So it's almost as if everything's in a coherent space. The next thing is transitions, which also follows the same exact rule. Your transitions should also follow the exact same space, the same echo, the same flatness, the same volume-ish area. Make sure that it's pushed back so that way all of these are coherent, from the texture to the space to the transitions. All of these are coherent, but not everything has to follow this rule. It's just the stuff in the background especially. That's what really fills out your song. That's what makes it feel alive, is that there's stuff happening all the time. That's what keeps your interest, all right? They can get overwhelming, so be careful. Try not to add 100 instruments that are just texture. I like to add, 3 or 4, maybe some in the textures, 4 or 5 in the textures, and then 4 or 5 in the transitions. Each of them kind of have like 3 to 5. Let's say that. Let's say that as a broad rule. It's not always going to work. Just try to figure it out for your song. Sometimes I only have 1. Sometimes I don't have any. So it's not always going to be there, but it's a good idea to try it. Next thing, keep interest not by changing the song, but by changing the idea. This is kind of poorly described. Let me try this again. Let's say you have some rock and roll chords or something, and you put some hard-hitting trap drums in there. So it's like, okay, you have all that rhythm in there, right? Now, the next section of your song, in order to keep that interest happening, but to keep the same idea, the same core of your song, all you have to do is remove the drums and then change the rhythm of your guitar. Boom, 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 and then the next section, right? You get the idea. Imagine that's your next section. Oh my God, how interesting would that be? It's new chords, new movement, but it's the same idea. It's the same core foundation. Now you can add a new element in there too. Maybe you add a snare, you add in a different melody, a different arpeggio or something to match the rhythm. All of that is really interesting. So change the rhythm especially. Try to change more the specific point I'm trying to go for here is don't change the core foundation of your song. Just try to change the idea of your song to something, to twist it into some new version of that idea. The same concept though, the same instruments, the same sound selection, the same atmosphere. Just a slight twist to it. You don't need to make a whole new song per section. You don't need to make a whole new song for each verse. You don't need to make a whole new song for the bridge. It's supposed to sound different for the bridge, so make it sound different, but keep the core foundation of your song. Or you could change it in the bridge especially. That's where you kind of you can do whatever you want. That's creative choice. But you can try it. Try keeping the same idea throughout the whole thing. I used to do that mistake all the time as a beginner. Okay, next up is mastering can be messed up by volume, poorly controlled volume. Now we kind of already touched this, but I'm gonna go for more of a specific leeway here into the mastering phase. This is kind of like throughout the beginning of your song all the way to the ending of your song here. That's kind of how I'm kind of thinking about this. The mastering can be messed up heavily. If you sit there and you mess up your mastering by having too loud of a snare or too loud of a kick, it will be peaking before the rest of your song is peaking, which means that you cannot bring your song all the way up to the proper mastered volume. First, it's going to peak with those high-end things, which means you need to bring down your kicks, your snares, and your vocals, and anything else that's really, really loud till it's not super, super loud above the rest of your song. Everything needs to be relatively coherent with the volume. Control it with the frequencies properly and the volume properly, and your song will be flat in terms of the volume, but sound wide and very, very different per section of your song. It'll sound like it's alive. Everything's moving. Everything's participating in the overall vibe of the song. This can also come from things like, obviously you can do automation for, reverb, EQ, whatever. There's a bunch of stuff you can try, but this overall concept here is that you need to be careful with your control of the volume. And the volume is the big thing here, because the frequency, we already touched on that. If you have too much frequency, you're gonna have a hard time making things fit together. But if you had the volume incorrect, you're gonna have a hard time making everything sound coherent within the volume control, within the peaks of your song. This is kind of hard to describe, but I think you guys get the idea. Let me know if you have any questions about this, by the way. Now we have one more, which is files can completely ruin your song. If you are transferring your files and your files sound awful, it is completely ruined. Here's why. I'm gonna explain this. But before I do, please subscribe if you want more tips like this. And let me know if you have any video ideas. I'm happy to talk about literally anything you want. Like from the musical perspective, dude, I got this down. So let me know what you want from me. I can give you guys anything. And also 13 more subscribers until I can go live, and I will be doing music reviews for you, in-depth music reviews, not just I like this, I don't like this, not just 1 out of 10. I'm gonna go give you guys actionable feedback, things like you should use a compressor here, you should reverse this vocal, here's an idea, here's a melody idea, actual things you can add to the song, all right? So 13 more subscribers is what we need. We need 50 subscribers to go live. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, whatever you guys need to do. I would greatly appreciate the support, all right? Let's keep this rolling. Files can be changed based on quality. Here is how you properly send files. You want lossless audio for professional use, and you want easy to transfer audio for non-professional use. So things like, for example, sending it to an artist or sending it to a reviewer, you can use an MP3 file fine. That's a non-professional version, right? MP3 files are small files. They're compressed audio, meaning lower quality. The file is usually flattened, meaning the peaks are a little bit quieter. Some of the little things in the background are a little bit different. I think it might even be mono instead of stereo. So if you have stereo output in your DAW and you're sending things left and right, it's gonna put it all in the center. I'm not certain about that. I could be wrong on that last point. Anyways, you want lossless audio exclusively for professional use. You can use lossless audio in non-professional ways, but the file is bigger, which is why people use the MP3. Lossless audio, for example, is not what Spotify actually plays originally. You have to go into your settings. Here's a little nugget. Go into your settings on Spotify. You can actually change from lossless audio or lost audio, meaning it's an MP3 file on Spotify automatically every song. You can change that to lossless audio, and then immediately everything gets louder. If you change, you can also change the loudness scale. So boost it all the way to the loudest, and it'll be as it was when it first came out of the fucking studio. And then you'll also get lossless audio, meaning the quality is as good as possible. Change that in your Spotify settings, dude. 9-day difference. Swear to God. Look up a YouTube video about it. Now, with that being said, there is also a secondary thing to this. You can not only just get the high quality files, the size of the files being true, which is lossless audio, the true file of how you had it in your DAW, but you can also mess up that file during the export process by having low quality hertz rates and the low quality rates in general. There's a bunch of settings you have to worry about, but generally speaking, I like to make sure that my audio quality is as high as possible. Look up a separate video for this, it helps a lot. You want to make sure that you are getting the hertz range properly. You want to make sure that you are getting everything organized properly so that way you have enough room in your track to have the most quality audio. It makes your files big, so make sure you also have a hard drive. Put your songs on a hard drive. That'll save you a lot of time. All my songs are on hard drives, not in the cloud. With that being said, I'm out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe and come back for more content. We're going ham recently, baby.